Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're on. Another chase of the year. It's April 26, 1991.
On that fateful Friday afternoon, a devastating outbreak of tornadoes struck Kansas and neighboring states. When the day was over, 53 tornadoes touched down, 21 of them in Kansas. 20 Kansans lost their lives in the outbreak. Over $260 million in damage was done in Sedgwick and Butler Counties alone. While the Andover tornado and the Kansas Turnpike overpass video gathered more headlines on this day, there was another significant tornado during this outbreak. It would be my first tornado back home in Wabaunsee County, west of Topeka. I chased that day with Matt Foster. We were both atmospheric science students at the University of Kansas. I had waited in the KU Weather Lab until 2 a.m. to read the first outlook of the day from the National Severe Storms Forecast Center, now known, of course, as the Storm Prediction Center. The forecasters predicted a very active weather day and placed much of central and eastern Kansas in a high risk, just the 11th such forecast ever issued at that time. So the first thing I had to do when I got up in the morning was I had to call a professor. I had a psychology test scheduled for that afternoon. So I called him up, explained the situation, what was going on, and he reminded me, and Mr. Price, you'll remember, you've got 4 tests this semester. You can drop the lowest score. So a little bit of a pause, and I said, I'll see you Monday. With the test now out of the way, Matt and I left Lawrence a little after 2 p.m. We briefly stopped at the National Weather Service office in Topeka, where Matt was an intern. The area west of Topeka was already under a tornado watch. This is how it sounded on NOAA Weather Radio as Matt and I headed west on I-70 after our visit.
The National Severe Storms Forecast Center has issued a tornado watch for parts of central and eastern Kansas, effective this Friday afternoon and evening until 8 p.m. This is a particularly dangerous situation with the possibility of very damaging tornadoes.
When we reached K177 around 3:50, we stopped at a payphone so Matt could call back to the office for an update. His conversation with his boss and MIC, Jack May, was brief, as Jack suddenly said, "Hey, gotta let you go," and hung up. On satellite, the storms were exploding along and east of the dry line. East of Junction City, 2 other KU storm chase teams had this view looking south. Rick Katzfey, who recorded this video, accompanied Jillene Wahl and Jeff Fagan, while Mike Petronico, John Winter, and Greg Zamarippa pursued in a second vehicle. We knew there was some development northwest of Emporia. Our initial target had been Salina, but with Jack's cue, we blasted south on 177 toward Council Grove. At 4:06 p.m., the weather radio went off. StormData says a tornado touched down near Council Grove Reservoir around 4:10 p.m., about the time we were in the area. Honestly, I'm a little confused by that report, as the storm was clearly southeast of the city. The storms were well out of the optimum range of the prototype Doppler radar running that day in Norman, Oklahoma, but a portion of the storms up in the higher levels were sampled in Morris County. Meanwhile, here's what it looked and sounded like in Council Grove as the tornado sirens blared. Matt and I reached Council Grove at 4:20 p.m. and then headed east on US 56. Meanwhile, as Rick, Jeff, and Jillene traveled east of town, you can see the back end of the storm to their east and southeast. Analyzing the video in slow motion, you can see the telltale sign of a transformer flash just before they descended into a valley. Upon cresting the next hill, the wall cloud is clearly east of their location. Jillene snapped these 2 pictures of the feature hovering over US 56. Those 2 groups were a few minutes ahead of us at this stage in the game. As we tailed behind, we too could see the storm to our north with a pronounced lowering. Eventually, the storm got its act together and the tornado began 12 miles southwest of Eskridge. It moved north-northeast at around 40 miles per hour. We eventually reached K99 and sped north towards Eskridge. Meanwhile, the tornado destroyed a farmhouse and other buildings at Lake Wabaunsee, causing F1 damage. At 4:54 p.m., with the storm to our northwest, we arrived on the east side of Eskridge. We took a shortcut via gravel road that took us to K4 without having to drive through town. By this time, I'd say we were less than 5 minutes behind our KU counterparts. To the west of Keene, those two teams stopped at the top of a hill and videotaped this sequence of the tornado to their northwest.
What? Oh, guys, I like this.
Jeff,
I like this.
John, get off the road. This is a bad place. Get way off. I'm pulling in front of you.
Love it. Love it. Careful, Jill. No, we're not. We've got it.
Fucking huge.
We've got it. Hey, you guys, we may want to go a little bit closer, but.
Head straight back north.
All right, let's just grab some quick video and then bolt.
Beautiful. Get that out.
I doubt I don't think I can get it.
I've got visual on the camera.
Watch out. Really?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have dick.
It's hard to see. It is very hard
I
to see.
just want to say, David Babb, blow me.
We've got that on video. Johnny, can you point to it, buddy? It's hard to see. It's still really hard to see right now with this camera. We're still a little bit too far away.
Let's go.
Look at all this shit getting sucked up.
Did you see it going around the curve?
Yeah, did you
Was
see that
like
shit get straight lifted up, man?
That was like perfect. Ready to go?
Let's go.
A few minutes later, we passed that very spot, void of chasers. We turned off K4 and went west on Skyline Road before turning north. We were treated to this view of the tornado.
That's it. In front of us. Right fucking in front of us. We have a tornado.
About that time, we noticed a car pulling up behind Matt's truck. I figured the two guys inside were going to ask us to move. Instead, they were two storm chasers, Tom Blazek and Pat Guinan from the University of Missouri.
Hey, we got a couple of
Video, kick ass!
We got a couple of. Hey, we want shots of that video.
What are the good places to get out of here?
Just a sec.
Good question, boys.
We're not going to go north on this road. If we're going to do anything, we're going to have to go back.
Help rewind it before you click it.
Tornado near Alma. Again, University of Missouri students with us. We've got video footage.
As Pat shot video, Matt took this sequence of stills as the tornado continued northeast around 5:05 p.m.
Did you just come off the highway down here? Yeah. See, the problem
We had a
with four-
great shot of
The
it.
problem with 4 is it turns and goes that way for about 3 miles.
But it does go north again.
It's going that way, so let's just go do that.
Go back to 4.
Go back to 4 and follow it. It's gonna go.
That's it.
For a couple 3 miles. We can catch this.
Rodney
son of a
Price.
bitch.
Ronnie, my name's Tom Blazek.
Matt Foster. How you doing?
You can get that, can't you, Pat? I hope. We were going towards Salina, and they said the storm was developing. We went south to Council Grove. They first issued the warning. See, now we just came from that area, didn't we? Oh, yeah? Which way does 4 go? 4 is one that goes there towards Topeka. Yeah, see, I'm from this area, just to southeast. Boys, I say we head north before it gets away from us. This thing's cruising.
Meanwhile, Jim Cunningham from Topeka was traveling east on I-70 when he witnessed the tornado behind him. He took this photo, which appears courtesy of StormData. Storm chaser Robert Herman from Wamego witnessed the tornado from the K99 I-70 intersection. While Robert did not take any pictures or video of the storm, he was able to observe it about 12 miles to his east as it crossed I-70. In its path was a stone church built in 1876 to the west of Maple Hill. The tornado struck the church, causing severe damage. A few minutes later, the other KU teams tracked behind the storm as the tornado passed Maple Hill.
This road sucks. For the record, again. We're still heading towards Maple Hill. Cars in front of us are slowing down because they're scared. Hand in hand.
My battery is going dead. I'll keep on as long as I can. Looks like the tornado is kind of it's definitely shrunk in size. It still may be very strong in intensity. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
Is that I-70 up there, Doug?
Is that I-70? Yeah. We're heading right towards I-70. Again, my battery is beginning to go bad. See if we can get a little bit of
Can we go any
close-up.
farther north from I-70? Come on, give me some more.
Hot on their heels, Matt and I, along with Tom and Pat, reached I-70 We turned east and stopped on the shoulder of the interstate about a half mile from the on-ramp. We watched as the tornado crossed the Kansas River.
How about further north? Can we go further north?
Yeah. Okay, what we're gonna have to do is this. Up here, just a little ways, it's the Rossville exit, and we're gonna have to be out, like, it's about 4 miles from here. We can turn off. Okay, here's where we got on right here. When we get off at the Rossville exit, we're gonna sit here and watch it here for just a second, and we're gonna go north after we turn on the Rossville exit, and that goes north right into Rossville, and we go from there.
Okay. Have you heard the latest?
The same one.
Hey Tom, get up and I'll get you in it.
Are you getting it?
I can get you in it.
Tornado.
Point to it.
Right there, baby, boys and girls. This tornado on the ground. It's very clear now. Multiple walk. Let's go get it. Missouri students here about to hack that off.
You ready to go back?
Meanwhile, a 6-year-old future storm chaser named Darin Brunin had this dramatic view of the tornado looking south. He and his family lived northwest of Rossville. Thankfully, the storm passed to their east as it rumbled on into Shawnee County to the west of Rossville, where a few homes had F2 damage. The tornado tracked into Jackson County and eventually lifted 5 miles southwest of Mayetta. When it was all said and done, the 200-yard wide tornado was on the ground for a total of 44 miles and injured 5 people. While we were excited by the tornado we saw that day, I was reminded by a classmate of the human toll, those that lost their lives in Wichita and Andover, especially in the Golden Spur Mobile Home Park.
This is your National Weather Service forecast office in Topeka, Kansas. A tornado warning is in effect until 6 p.m. for northern Wabaunsee, all of Potawatomi, northwest Shawnee, and western Jackson County. At 5:05 p.m., a tornado was reported in Alma and near Maple Hill,